Hi kids, and welcome to another wonderful edition of Angry Pug Art! Okay, last week, or week before that, I don't know, it's been a couple weeks, screw it. I was working on teaching you guys a little bit of technique with pen and ink. Well, we're still working on that. One of the things I kind of sent you guys away with was some of my cool stuff in there. Was a picture that I was working with. I said take a comic book page or something like that and apply different stippling and cross hatching into it. So when I was working with the thing, this is what I came up with. That's a pencil in my ear. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of like what I came up with when I was just working with the crosshatch. This is all I was talking about. It's nothing fancy. This is what I want you to do, is I want you to take some type of object and just put your cross hatching or hot hatching or stippling into it. Make it purty. Okay, you think you can do that? That was one little bit of homework. The other little bits of homework I had for you guys was I wanted you guys to do basically taking your cross hatching and going from dark to light. Same thing with hatching and then the stippling. Okay. To kind of continue down that path, there's one thing we're going to have to do. I need to educate you on basically perspective a little bit, because that's the whole point of shading, is perspective. So one of the things we're going to do today is spheres. Okay, we're going to work with the spheres, and we're going to use the cross hatching into it. And we're going to discuss how to draw a sphere, how it's three-dimensional. We're also going to go over a bit of what actually, the interesting thing about a sphere, I interrupt myself a lot, I noticed that. Anyways, the interesting thing about a sphere is everything is applicable to it. Everything has a light source. Light comes from a direction, and it has a coarse shadow and reflective light and cast shadow. You guys are going, what is all that? That's what I'm going to discuss. That's what I'm going to show you today. So, we did our homework from last week, What you should do is actually, before any of these classes, is just get a blank piece of paper. And we're going to deviate once again, because that's what I'm really good at. Get a blank piece of paper, and just get your pen out. Got new pens. Ooh, look at that. I'd show you the name of it, but I might get in trouble.
Hey, big spender.
Yeah, I'm a big spender. It cost me a whole $3.95 for 4 pens. I'm about as cheap as you get. Anyways, you take your hand there, and just get your tool. No giggities. Get your tool and your medium that you're working with, and just work it on the paper. Get the pen fluid. Get your hand exercise your hand so it's loose, so you're relaxed. Because that's what drawing is. You're relaxed when you're doing it. So take a piece of paper out. Do that. We'll get ready for the next step. Now, today, what we're going to do is we're going to work on a sphere. So the first step I'm going to do is, now if you want to cheat, go ahead, cheat. I already did earlier, but I was going to try to freehand it. But I got one of these stupid things that are worthless except for the circle ones. Just draw a circle lightly with pencil. Okay, I'm going to make my notes on this one, and then I'm going to do another drawing over here. But draw your circle. Now, when you're doing something in 3 dimensions, what we have is, to make it look 3-dimensional, we have to understand how it works and how light works and functions. Okay, if you have a light source coming from this direction up here at the top, that's the pretty little sunshine. He's all happy and everything right there. Okay, so the sun or the light source is up in this direction, and it's going to be shining down on the surface of our sphere. Well, this area right here, these are pretty much this is your light source. No, we'll spell it correctly. S-O-R-C-E. I think that's it. Okay, your light source is here. You have what's known as your highlight. Okay? Highlight. That is the brightest part of your sphere or the picture. Every object always has that. There's always light reflecting off of everything. Even if there's no light available, you make it there. Okay. Now our next little section that is kind of remember it and put it in your memory. It looks like a crescent, basically. What it is it's wrapping around your figure. And this is your core shadow. Okay? That kind of looks like a dark banana. Well, on spheres it does. Okay, so you have your highlight, your core shadow. Then your next part is you have what's known as a midtone, or your basic shadow. Now, the midtone, I'll try to show you this. Let me get this darker here real quick. Since these are just notes, they don't have to look pretty. Your area that is here, all of this area would be your regular shadow, okay? Now, your shadow lightens up as it gets up to your highlight here, okay? Now, the other little thing to make it look three-dimensional is right here, this little edge right here. That's called reflective light. If you look at an object, I mean everything, you notice it'll be darker here, and then you get a little bit reflecting light off of it. It's just what happens. It's on everything, okay? So to make it look three-dimensional, this is called reflected light. Okay? Now, so you have a three-dimensional object right now. How do you anchor it? Well, to make it look even more three-dimensional, what we do is we have a cast shadow. Now, if your light source is coming from this direction, your cast shadow is going to be under your object and shoot out the opposite direction. It'll pretty much be solid to this point. You can make the whole thing solid if you want, but I like to thin the shadow down as it extends out from underneath the figure. So, shadow. And that's a cast shadow. Cast. Okay? Reflected light, cast shadow. My notes are horrible. As I start drawing this, it'll make more sense. And then we'll go back and relabel everything. So, first step we're going to do is we're going to grab your trusty pencil there. You're going to draw yourself a circle. Don't draw hard. Don't draw, don't push your hand down. It's just really light. That way you can erase it when you're ready to do that part. Now, I guess I could do this in stippling too. No, it'd take too long. I hate stippling. I'm going to draw lightly. Now, normally you don't draw a line because, okay, we're going to do this correctly. Okay, got my pencil. I've drawn my light outline of my circle that I'm going to draw later. This is the proper way to do it. Okay, I've kind of got my cast shadow. I know my light source will be coming here from the top at the angle. So I'll have a highlight here. I know my core shadow will be in here someplace. And then I have my cast shadow. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my core shadow because it's the darkest area. And I'm going to start with my cross hatching. And I'm going to cross my lines and I'm going to work with the shape till I am happy and it looks like a crescent. So I'm going to be all over the camera here for a couple minutes. Yeah, I do flip it upside down. Sometimes it's actually easier to flip the object upside down. Your brain works in strange ways. And if you flip the object upside down, it's no longer the object you're trying to draw. It fools the brain. And so you can concentrate on the actual technique that's going into it rather than like the details like, oh, that's supposed to be a butterfly. Butterflies don't look like that. Well, if you flip it upside down in your brain somehow kind of goes, oh, it's not a butterfly. And it's just easier to draw sometimes. So I start with my core shadow there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in here. And this is going to be my simple shadow or my mid-tone shadowing here. And you can cross back over your core shadow. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, now trying to figure out where you just gotta dive into it and work into it. But got my mid-tone. I'm gonna rework my core shadow so it looks a little bit darker. And I'm just gonna basically just also work around the sphere. Going in one direction because it looks cool. Now what I'm doing is I'm defining the sphere itself with just trying to use just lines. Pretty much it. That's the way you're supposed to do it, is just because there's no hard edges on anything that's out there. It's just basically where shadows meet light and reflections and more shadows. That's what drawing is, and that's really all you're really doing, is you're defining where the edges are by you're defining the edges by matching up a dark and a light. You're not drawing an edge. Because if there was edges on everything, we'd be walking around looking like cartoon characters, and that would just be weird. Unless it's like one of those superheroines, because some of them kind of get hot looking. But anyways, so I've got a rough definition of what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to start working on my cast shadow. And you get to a point where it's like, oh, this is ugly. I don't like it. It's not working out. That's called the ugly phase. I just made that up. It's my word. The ugly phase is this part. Actually, it's more than just made up. It's something I've always called it, but I call it the ugly phase. It's a part that's like where you've got the main part of the artwork going, but you feel like it's done. You've covered the parameters of what needs to be done, but you just need more. That's the kind of it's a tough decision. Sometimes you should just quit, walk away from the art piece, and you're done. But a lot of times you're at a point where you just need to add more. You need more time into it. It's pretty much, like this area right here. It's like you got the basics. You can kind of see the form coming together. It just needs a lot more time into it. And I think that's a lot of the problems that people have with their artwork, is they're just not putting enough time into the actual piece. It's a commitment. On average, people are like, well, how long does art take? How long does it take to draw something simple? Well, you know what? If you're doing a quick doodle sketch, it might take you 5 minutes. But if you're using, cross-hatching or something that you want to look good, it could take hours and hours. I've done simple designs like this, and I've put 8 to 12 hours into it. That's why it always kind of amazes me when, as a professional artist, you guys will probably get this too. You'll get people coming in and they're like, oh, well, just draw me up something. And then when you say, oh, well, I put that piece is going to be $120. Oh, well, can't you do it cheaper? No, I can't, because I've devoted time and energy into creating my talent, and then some bonehead doesn't understand. A freaking plumber can get $80 an hour. Why the hell can't I? Okay? He knows how the plumbing works. He's got all the tools to do it, and he's got all the knowledge and know-how. Well, so do I when it comes to drawing. Okay? There's a lot of people out there that just don't get it. Okay? That pisses off artists. Just because we're an artist doesn't mean that we're just some flaky type of people that are just gonna do nothing but doodle for a living. Bullshit. Okay? We work just as hard as you do. The other thing is too, art takes time. I've literally had people walk into my shop, order a logo, and then come back an hour later. Is my logo done? Well, see, there's a little something that they don't understand. There's a magic wand that artists are issued. See, this is the secret. There is magic. It's out there. It's called a magic wand, yeah. See, whenever you're an artist, you get issued a magic wand. You shove it up your ass, okay? That way you pull it out from time to time and you wave it. That's how artwork is created. At least that's how the world seems to think how it works. No, time, energy, talent, skill. That's what art is. That's what goes into it. That's why we need to get paid as well. You wouldn't be watching this if you didn't agree with me. Or you just want to see me get angry, because that's usually what people like to point and laugh. I'm like the big gorilla at the zoo, I guess. Okay, I am going to continue drawing this. Unfortunately, it's probably going to take a little more time than we have tape for. So I'm going to break off and then reappear here in a couple seconds with more of a finished project. And then once we have that down, I'll go over where the highlight, cast shadow, reflective light, and middle light and coarse shadows, all that go. Okay, and then we'll talk about what I'd like you to work on. Okay, so in 3, 2,